Hello, class. This is Mrs. Gaines Harris. I am recording a short video to answer some questions that several of you have had pertaining to your Module 3 written assignment. As I discussed with one of the students, there is not an actual textbook reading assignment built into the course for Module 3. But if you read Chapter 3 in your textbook as well as Chapter 6, beginning around page 113 or so, you will be provided with information that will assist you in understanding and completing the Module 3 assignment. So I will go ahead and go over some information relative to this table. So hopefully everyone can have a better idea of how to interpret the data as well as what's expected on the assignment. So in this table, we have three counties. That's what's listed here to the far left: Harris, Bell, and Ford. Next to that is going to be the population of each county. Our next column is going to be the case or counts. Now, this table, if you look here, is relative or discussing cancer incidence rates. So, these will be the counts or incidences of cancer in each county. So your crude rate, we discussed crude rate. It's also discussed in chapter 3 of your textbook. A crude rate is going to be a rate or a division problem, basically, of the number of cases in that population per 100,000. So this crude rate for Harris County says that, and remember that crude rates are incidences or new cases. So this crude rate says there are 347.3 cancer incidences in Harris County per 100,000 people in the population. By the same token, our age adjusted rate is going to be a rate of the cancer incidences in Harris County taking age into consideration. Because remember, we discussed that a crude rate does not take age into consideration, and especially when we're discussing cancer, that does matter because as you age, your risk for cancer increases. So if you have a population that is older, then with a crude rate, it's going to appear that you have a higher incidences of cancer rate. When you adjust for age, it will give you an accurate picture of the rate of cancer in that county. Now, some of you are really struggling with CI or confidence interval. So, confidence interval is a measure of how certain we are with the data that we've come up with. So you'll see that there's two CIs here. I'll go ahead and click on this file here because it will have the data viewable in a better instance. It'll be viewable better. I might not be able to do this. Open link in a new tab. Let's see how that works. Hopefully you're able to see this since it's screen recording. So basically the table that's there in your assignment is a small clip from this much larger table. So those counties come from Texas. And if we go down here, that first county was Harris County. So we're going to go down here and look for Harris County. I've been through this data, so I just know that it's further down here. Let's go ahead and do a search for Harris County. Okay, so this is the same data that is in the table here on your assignment page. So we have Harris County. This is the population of Harris County. These are the cases of cancer in Harris County. This is the crude rate or incidence of cancer per 100,000 in the population. And this is the age adjusted rate of cancer per 100,000 in the population. Now, the confidence interval, this is written better here than it is on the template in the classroom, so it's better to understand. When we're discussing confidence interval, again, that's discussing how certain we are with the data that we've come up with, so our analysis or our rates that we've determined. So we have a low and a high. So what we're saying is we have a 95%, we would be 95% confident that our age adjusted rate will fall between the low end and the high end of our confidence interval. So if we were to take 100 different samples from this population, 95 of those samples should produce an age adjusted rate between the low and the high end of this confidence interval. So on the other end of that, that means out of that 100, we should have 5 instances where our age adjusted rate will be lower than our confidence interval or higher than. So I hope that gives you a better understanding what a confidence interval is. Again, starting in your textbook on 113, they discuss confidence intervals. I believe that is where the majority of you are really starting to be confused. Just know that that's just certain. If someone says, I'm 100% certain, well, when we are dealing with sample populations, we cannot be 100% certain. So we are 95% confident that our age adjusted rate is reflective of our cancer rates in Harris County. So back to our assignment. Now, the first question says, which county data would you consider the most reliable and why? I'm not going to answer these questions for you, but think about your confidence interval. Also, think about population sizes. When you're looking at a population, if you have a larger population to sample from, do you think your data is more or less reliable? And within that population, if you have a larger or number of cases or a smaller number of cases, which do you think is more reliable? And a key indicator here, read about confidence intervals, but for your confidence interval, we have the high end and the low end. I can tell you that the range between the high and the low is a very important factor as it relates to how reliable your data is. So, and if you were looking at which county needs the most preventative interventions, you're going to look at the county where the burden of cancer is most significant. And you, when it says what additional information or data do you think you need to compare these counties in terms of incidence rates? So you're going to think of when we have rates, especially adjusted rates, how can we adjust? What are the various ways that we can adjust? They did list age on here, but that's not the only method that we can use to adjust and compare data. And also, they pulled county data from 3 counties out of the state of Texas. So, what other information do you think is not included, but could or should be included for you to get a better picture or a better understanding of which of these counties has the highest burden of cancer? I'm hoping that that explanation will help you guys out a little bit more. So, again, this is our county, this is the population of each county. These are the number of or the counts of cancer in each county. So, our crude rate means there is 347.3 incidences or new cases of cancer per 100,000 people in their population. So if you had 100,000 people in their population, you could expect 347.3 to be newly diagnosed with cancer. And our age adjusted rate is just accounting for a population that may be older or younger. And then once again, our confidence interval is telling us how certain we are that if we performed a sample from this population 100 times, how certain we are that our rate that we determine would fall between our low and our high confidence interval. If you have any additional questions after watching this video, then you may need to set up a time with me when we can meet in my WebEx room and do a sort of tutoring session that way. Other than that, I think from there most of you should be okay. You're still going to write this as an APA formatted paper. You're just going to basically give me an introduction and then dedicate 1 or 2 paragraphs to each question and close it with a conclusion. And that's it for me.